and welcome back to STEAM Camp. My name is Lynne, and I work for the San Mateo County Library System. You may recognize my face from the Belmont branch, or maybe from some of the other art programs that I've been streaming online for you. But today we are back one more time with something a little different, because I have one more art project lined up for you that we are going to do together today. So all of the crafts that I have been leading are in response to this book here, You Are an Artist by Sarah Urist Green, which is available for checkout now on our ebook app Overdrive. So if you're interested, be sure to check it out. And additionally, this book is an adaptation of the PBS series The Art Assignment, which you can actually find the entirety of right here on YouTube. So this particular assignment we're doing today is exclusive to the book, but I will still include links to their channel down in the description below. So today's assignment is going to be a response to the project Writing as Drawing as Writing. So assigned by the artist Kentura Davis, one of the core ideas behind this project is the idea that handwriting is actually a kind of creative expression too. It's something we invented after all. We created the written language. So we're the ones who made up the symbols that you put down on a page that we all agree have certain sounds or certain meanings assigned to them. Just the fact that there are multiple languages that exist is proof of that in and of itself. So, for example, you can write my name, Lynne, in both English and in Japanese. And so, looking at these side by side, they obviously look entirely different, but they say the exact same thing. So L-Y-N-N-E says my name, Lynne, just as much as me-in does. Lynne and Lynne. So, yeah, we invented written language, and that means you can create your own written language as well. So in this particular case, Davis was interested in the idea that sometimes you may have feelings or experiences that are difficult to describe. So rather than trying to come up with words that already exist, you can instead create your own written gestures to encompass and express those feelings for you instead. So I've got my pen, I've got my paper, and we are going to try and make a few of those together now. So I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I'm basically going to just try and cover the emotional spectrum of if you're happy and you know it. But let's flip to a blank sheet of paper and dive right in. So I'm going to start with a gesture that I think, for me at least, represents happiness, where personally for me, it's something that sort of feels like it starts in your center and then warms outward. It feels like it sort of pushes itself forward. It almost radiates. It makes me think of the sun, and in that, it makes me think of kind of a circular shape, something that starts in the center and then pushes little dots of happiness outward. So let's see what we can draw that might encompass that. So I'm going to start with a little series of dots, and I'm just going to continue to layer those as they each sort of push further and further outward. Like the happiness starts at the center and it just affects anything and everything around you. It's infectious. It's a good feeling. But it's not necessarily a very loud feeling. It can be very quiet and content. So it's like a little firework burst, almost like a flower. It actually looks a little bit like our SMCL logo. That was not entirely intentional. Fun fact, this is known as the burst of knowledge, so it's the same kind of idea. So yeah, I think that's kind of what happiness makes me think of. Something that starts in a little circular center and then just sort of radiates outward. So going through the song, happy or know it, if you're sad and you know it. So sadness. Sadness, in contrast to happiness, where it feels like it kind of has an outward momentum, I feel like sadness has weight to it. It pulls you down almost. Like it makes you feel heavy. So I think for me, sadness, and it's also a bit of a spectrum. So you may have little dips of sadness, and sometimes you may have really big dips of sadness. And the bigger the dip, the more it weighs. So I think for sadness, what I might do is something of a squiggly line where the bottom of those lines are thicker than the little ones at top. So I'm gonna vary the line weight so that when you're low, it feels like you're low. But it does get better. It does have a range to it. Even when it dips you all the way down, you get to curve back up again. But yeah, I think that's kind of what sadness feels like to me. Something that makes you feel heavy and it can pull you down. You kind of have to fight against it to go back up. So next up, if you're happy and you know it, if you're sad and you know it, if you're mad and you know it. So anger feels sharp to me, I think. It makes me think it's a little bit like sadness in that there's kind of a spectrum to it, but unlike sadness where its drops are sort of like weighted and heavy, for anger the spikes are sharp and sudden. They kind of burst out of you, even when it's quiet anger. It feels like it's kind of waiting for something to trigger it. It's waiting for a reason to spike, to blast out. So I think what I'm going to do is something that kind of echoes the sadness and it being a bit of a oscillating line, but this time it's going to be sharp lines, almost like a heartbeat monitor, but more erratic. If your heartbeat looked like this, you're probably not feeling okay. So just gonna dash these off very quickly, but anger, spiky mountain range, just ups and downs of sharp, sudden feeling. Doesn't feel very good to be angry, especially long term, but being able to express your anger is not a bad thing, and this may be another way to help you express it. You're just feeling mad, instead of getting mad at someone, you take whatever crayon or marker you have and just make spikes on the page. That may help make you feel a little better. So, happy and you know it, sad and you know it, mad and you know it, last but not least, if you're excited and you know it. So, excitement to me almost feels like it could be a combination of anger and happiness, as contradictory as that may sound, because I feel like it's similar to happiness in that it sort of starts from within you and can push out to affect others. It's infectious in that way. But unlike happiness, which is kind of a softer, quieter drift of sharing your warmth with other people, excited wants to be loud. It wants to burst out of you. It's like anger in that way. It's a feeling that you don't want to keep contained within you. You're not going to be quietly excited. You're going to be loud and big and excited. So, kind of similar to how I am thinking sadness and anger is having similar shapes. I think happiness and excited are going to have similar base shapes and being kind of circular and pushing outwards. But unlike happiness, I think I'm going to make it little excited pointed triangles that are bursting out, that they're just full on bouncing out of you, infecting other people, being like, look, I'm so excited. You should be excited too. So, yeah, I think that's not bad for a first take. Alright, so I think these are at least going to be my first take for each of these emotional gestures. So we have happiness, we have sadness, we have anger, and we have excitement. So part of what the original assignment for this is to repeat making these gestures to really solidify what you want them to be, to make your own written language with them. You want to be able to repeat the drawings that you made. So I am either going to speed up this next portion of footage or I'm going to cut here. It depends on what my editing software will let me do. And I'm going to practice making these a few more times before we come back together and I show off the final product. So hang tight, I will see you in a minute. All right, and welcome back. So after working on these gestures a little more, after repeating them a few times, these are the new sort of written words that I came up with for expressing some of the basic core key emotions. So as you may be able to see, they are slightly different than my first take. So for instance, where happiness initially was just a bunch of dots kind of bursting outwards, like our burst of knowledge, I ended up making it so it starts as little dots and then slowly the lines grow in length as it sort of bursts outward. It makes me think a little more of like sun rays when it's drawn like that, which I think was a little truer to what I was hoping to capture. Sadness is pretty much the same, anger is pretty much the same. I just tried to practice doing the same dips in emotion, quote unquote, consistently. So these are the kind of little repeating gestures that I settled on that just make me think of how those feelings feel inside of me, the way they sort of affect my mood and even my body to an extent. And last but not least, there was also a little bit of change to excited. So initially I did just a series of random little spikes that were bursting outwards, but I thought it would be cute if it was a little star in the center before the rest of it sort of pushes outward from it, because I don't know about you, but stars make me feel very excited. I think they're very exciting. And so yeah, that is my take on writing as drawing as writing. So try it out at home. Think about any sort of feelings you may have that either you want to create new words for them or you feel like the words that we have just don't quite capture the way you feel. And practice making some written gestures on your own. Make your entire new emotional language that you can use to express yourself whenever you like. And with that being said, I'm going to adjust the camera slightly to say, hey, this is the final video of our STEAM Camp series. We have had a ton of fun with you this summer. I hope that you learned something new or you found something that you wanted to create. And if you'd like, please, we would love to see what you've been up to. You can always at us at SMC Libraries, or you can share what you've done with the hashtag SMCLCreates. And if you happen to do this particular project, make sure you tag the art assignment as well with the hashtag YouAreAnArtist. But even though this is the end of STEAM Camp, you can always go back and rewatch any of these videos in our handy dandy playlist right here on YouTube. And we have got a lot of really exciting things that we're looking forward to coming up in the fall. If I recall correctly, it's going to be emphasizing a bunch of technology showcases, so look forward to that. And with that being said, this may be the final new video of STEAM Camp, but the Summer Learning Challenge is still going on. You have until August 31st to go to summerlearners.org and enter in what you've been reading this summer for a chance to win a $1,000 scholarship. You can always backlog, so if you haven't done it yet, be sure to before August 31st. And otherwise, again, thank you so much for tuning in, for spending time with me, for spending time with all of the rest of us here at SMCL with our STEAM Camp series. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!